Hello. Today I'm talking about the Commander Legends prankster himself, Blim, Comedic Genius. A 4/3 flyer for 2 and a red and a black that says whenever Blim deals combat damage to a player, that player gains control of target permanent you control. Then, each player loses life and discards cards equal to the number of permanents they control but don't own. So right off the bat, Blim seems like a pretty straightforward build. You take enchantments, creatures, and artifacts with big downsides and you hand them off to your opponents. Ideally, artifacts and enchantments are better to give as they are harder to get rid of compared to creatures, which can be sacrificed. A perfect example of this is the Jinxed artifact cards. Each one deals damage to its controller on their upkeep, but can be handed off to another opponent for a price. There's also a fair amount of cards that enter the battlefield under an opponent's control as well, so you don't have to worry about hitting with Blim to give them away. Just by casting these cards, you have already gifted your opponents with them, and this usually benefits yourself in the process. And of course, there is Demonic Pact. A card that can just outright make an opponent lose the game. If you choose 3 of the options on Demonic Pact and then give it to your opponent, they are only allowed to pick the last option, to lose a game. But I'm sure you already knew about this card for Blim. However, did you know that there are several other cards that can make opponents outright lose a game? Forbidden Crypt, Immortal Coil, and Nefarious Lich all force their controller to remove cards from their graveyard, either when they take damage or when they draw a card. When they can't remove a card from their graveyard, its controller loses the game. So by running these cards with your typical graveyard hate like Bojuka Bog, Tormod's Crypt, and Leyline of the Void, you can hand these to an opponent, wipe their graveyard, and then watch them lose the game in just a short time. Along with all the cards that give themselves away for various reasons, or the cards that let you give gifts to your opponents like Harmless Offering and Bizarre Trader, I think a great theme for a Blim deck is theft. It's one thing to just give your opponents bad permanents, but why not also give them things that you stole? If you use theft effects like Act of Treason and steal a creature until end of turn and then give that creature to another opponent, that creature stays with its new controller, and doesn't go back to its original owner. There are plenty of theft cards in red that can steal a variety of permanents, not just creatures. Repeated theft effects like Might Makes Right and Frenzied Fugue can always make sure you have something to give away as well. Also, for even more chaos, cards like Assault Suit, Custody Battle, and Risky Move always make sure that permanents are moving around on each of your opponent's turns as well. So your opponents may randomly get gifts without you really doing anything at all. Finally, since Blim's ability affects all players, you might want to avoid mass theft abilities, or you'll be taking a lot of damage and discarding a lot of cards as well. Also, since Blim's ability triggers on combat damage, double strike effects mean that you'll get to trigger his ability twice per combat, which can really be disruptive for your opponents. And just another side note, if you make an opponent create a token under their control, you don't own that token even though you made them make it. So, cards like Forbidden Orchard and Clackbridge Troll don't really do anything with Blim. And that is how I would build Blim. Pretty straightforward, but I did throw in some jank. Let me know what cards I missed down below, and when you need more jank, come back here to the King of Jank channel.